Yo, 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 yo. Welcome into the ChrisBeCappinn show, man. Today is December the 16th. Only one NBA game for today, which is the Championship Cup game. So we'll get into that, and then we'll get off of here, man. Should be a very, very quick show. I do have thoughts on the side. I got thoughts on the total and a couple player props that I want to talk about with you guys as well. So let's jump into it. Yesterday, 3 official plays for me. I talked about them on the show and went 1-2. Detroit plus the points was a winner, plus the 1.5, and then Houston couldn't hold a lead. They were up, I think, as many as 9 in the second quarter, and they just couldn't stop Denver. Some controversial calls at the end, but really don't matter at the end of the day. You either win or you lose. And then the other loser was the Clippers. First half minus the 2. All of a sudden, they don't cover the number. They were 8-2 or going into 8-2 in their last 10 games in the first half. James Harden gets ruled in, and still can't beat the Grizzlies. So maybe the Grizzlies just own them. I mean, clearly the Grizzlies own them at this point. But they had even covered the first half in both of those games as well. So not sure what to do about that one. Got to do a little bit better. It was back-to-back winning days, and it was back-to-back losing days. I went 0-1 yesterday, 1-2 0-2 on Sunday, 0-1 on Sunday, and 1-2 yesterday. So I got to do a little bit better. Hopefully the cup can bring me some cash today. Good morning, Algina. She says, damn, H-Town. She says, that was the worst officiating game I've ever seen in my life. 59 free throw attempts between both teams. Boy, yeah, it was not good. Good morning, Taylor. He says, Scotty rebounds and assists. Laurie, 25. Green beans last night on my Knicks today. Okay. Yeah, I didn't play any player props yesterday, but I would have done well. We talked about Jaylen Brown over his points yesterday. That was an easy winner. We talked about Derek White over his threes. That was an easy winner. I like the look for Scotty Barnes over his rebounds and assists. It was a couple other that I liked as well. I didn't play any player props, though. I like the Laurie look, like Markel said. We talked about that yesterday. I talked about Jokic having to have a big game. He scored 39 last night. So it was definitely some ways to get paid yesterday. I just did not do so. What up, Vario? He says, hit the like button for our guy. Appreciate that. Good morning, Bitsy. Says the Cam Spencer points and assists was sweat-free. Love to see it. Glad you cashed that. Good morning, mid-range bully. What's up, Adam? Dom says he had Rockets plus 1.5. Nuggets team total under 19.5. I hate the NBA. I wake up feeling like that. So sometimes I go to sleep feeling like that too, man. It's brutal. These times of the year, like if you just take a step back, these times of the year are they can be treacherous, man. Like they can absolutely be trusted, but it's part of the journey, you know. That's why I do the show every day. That's why I hold myself accountable, cap the games every day, and come on here and share looks. I do the due diligence, win, lose, or draw. What's up, Brian? He says I played three games along with Clippers. They're back. Gotta love them. Houston, Detroit came through. Let's find it today. Yeah, for sure. Mid-Ray says I'm done with the Rockets. Perfect spot for a revenge spot, and they lose again. He says, hey, Chris, great call on Mark's points. If AD was out, cash. Yeah, I probably should have took my own advice. All right, let's get into it for today. So we'll start with Jackson. Jackson also got smoked yesterday. Jackson liked the Celtics minus the 1.5 and the over. And that game stayed under, right? The game stayed under yesterday. I think the total the Jackson like was 229.5. That game did stay under the total. Finished at 217. Boston, like legit, just kept shooting threes, making them miss them. It was just one quarter they make them, one quarter they miss them. So that game did stay under, and Detroit was able to get the win. So I asked Jackson, I asked Jackson today for the best 2 player props on the board today, based on specifically on defense versus position. The first one is Jalen Brunson to score 31 points today. It says that Brunson has been stellar, has been having a stellar season, ranking 7th league-wide and scoring at 28.8 points per game. His recent performance has been even hotter, averaging 29.6 over his last 12 games, shooting 40% from the three-point line as well over his last 10 games. The news narrative strongly supports this pick, noting that Brunson, quote, seems to always show up in big moments, end quote. He put up 35 points in both of his last 2 cup games and topped 31 points in 4 times in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. This is a player who elevates his game when the lights are the brightest. So matchup analysis, while the Spurs guards are expected to offer ample resistance in locking up Brunson, the overall defensive context suggests that the Knicks will rely heavily on him. The Spurs defense while elite when Victor Wembanyama is on the floor, is still susceptible to high volume guard scoring. So the Knicks offense is built around Brunson's ability to penetrate and score in the mid range, where they rank 7th in effective field goal percentage at 45%. Spurs defense, even with Wemby, will be focused on protecting the rim and dealing with Karl-Anthony Towns, potentially leaving Brunson with favorable isolation matchups against the Spurs perimeter defense. The Spurs defensive stats have been negatively impacted by Wembanyama's missing time, and he's still on a minutes restriction again. Brunson will have significant stretches to exploit the Spurs defense when their anchor is on the bench. There's more. I'm not going to read all that. And then the second player prop is on Wemby to score 23 points. So it says odds implied by the news. So it says Wemby's return immediately changed the landscape of the tournament. As evident by the Spurs upset over the Thunder, he has an elite inside-outside game that is tough to stop, putting up over 25 points with relative ease this season. The most compelling data point on this prop is Wembanyama's historical performance against the Knicks. In 3 career games against New York, he's averaging a massive 32 points per game, 15.7 rebounds per game, and 4.3 assists. This level of production against a specific opponent suggests a highly favorable matchup for the young star. So then there's matchup analysis. I really just don't want to read all this. But if you guys are interested in reading it, like go over to Jackson, check it out. The prompt was, like I said, what are the 2 best player props for today's NBA game based on defense versus position? I also this morning I typed in this prompt because prompt is so important when you're using AI. I typed in based on Wembanyama's impact, how does that influence the total in the NBA Cup championship game today between the Spurs and the Knicks? Give me a recommendation on the total based on analysis. So there's like probably a whole 2 pages and charts and all kind of stuff that you guys can utilize if you're interested in checking Jackson out. The link is in the description now, and we'll get on to the game, give you guys my thoughts. So let's jump into it. Spurs Knicks 2.5 is the spread. The total has gone up. This actually opened 227.5. It's up 6 points. 233 is the consensus. 233.5. 234.5 is available as well. But the spread hasn't really moved a lot at all. Open Knicks 2.5. Still Knicks 2.5. So what do I think about the game? I think the biggest thing you got to take into consideration, in my opinion, is that I can make very, very strong, compelling arguments for both teams. First of all, the best team don't always win the cup. Last year, the Bucks won the cup. We got to remember that, right? So I do feel like the Knicks are the better team between them and the San Antonio Spurs. Don't mean that the Knicks are going to win the game. I look at the Knicks' journey to get to this point. The most recent game, they beat the Orlando team where I was on the Knicks, but they beat the Orlando team where Jalen Suggs got hurt. They were without Franz Wagner. And they can't shoot threes. That's the Orlando Magic, that is. And that's one of the reasons why I like the Knicks in the game. You look at the same, and before that, they played against the Toronto Raptors. Toronto Raptors were injured as well. No Quickly, no RJ Barrett. They go into Toronto and absolutely steamroll them. And then on the opposite side, I look at the San Antonio Spurs path to get here. And the win against the Oklahoma City Thunder was very, very intriguing, man. Like, I watched this game, and I told you guys, for whatever reason, the Thunder they struggled to shoot the 3-point shot in Vegas for whatever reason. The Spurs, not so much. The Spurs were able to knock down threes in that last game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the rim protection that they have with Victor Wembanyama is next level. So do I give him a chance to win the game? Yes. I don't even think I necessarily want to bet on the side. I think I just want to bet the total. I want to bet a couple player props and just be able to watch the game. So let's transition to the total. As far as Wemby's impact, we've talked about this before, but just to give you guys a recap, the San Antonio Spurs have a 105 defensive rating with Wemby on the floor. They have a 120 defensive rating with him off the floor. They're minus 1.5 in net rating with Wemby off the floor, and they're plus 11.4 with Wemby on the floor. And you immediately saw his impact in that last game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm thinking about this game. I'm going back and forth. Initially, I thought the over was the best look on the board. I didn't get there. I don't really want to get the worst of the number. It's moved 6 points now. I think the total is the most intriguing part of the game for me because I know that the Knicks will probably be able to score the basketball from the 3-point line. I'm sorry, I know that the Spurs will probably be able to score the basketball from the 3-point line. This is a really, really vulnerable Knicks defense. When they played against teams that can shoot the three, they've really, really struggled this season. When they haven't, it's been pretty much, smooth sailing. The Knicks are also a team that they thrive on making threes as well. On the season, they're first in corner three frequency, fifth in accuracy. They're also fifth in overall 3-point frequency and accuracy. And the San Antonio Spurs are bottom 5 defense in the league and keeping teams off the 3-point line. And a lot of that is because they don't have Wemby back there. I think when you start to isolate the numbers and look at with Wemby on the floor versus with Wemby off the floor, they'll put a lot more pressure on the 3-point line when Wemby's on the floor because they know they got him back there to be a rim protector. With the total going up so much and the Spurs being a really good defensive team, the Knicks being a slow-paced offensive team, but a team that will run if you want to be in the track meet, the Knicks they're one of the top 5 best offensive rated teams as well. What that kind of leaves me is, and this is a contrarian look. I think I like under. Initially, I really wanted to get there with over, but with the total going up so much, I think I would try to get to an under in this game. I think the other thing I didn't address yet is I do think that Wemby, who played, I think, 21, 22, 23 minutes or something like that in the last game, I do think that while being cautious, they will be cautious with him. He might not even play the first quarter again. We'll see what that looks like. But I don't think he had any kind of setback. And I think that his minutes could tick up. If his minutes tick up, that's going to help the Spurs defense a ton in this game. This is not a great Spurs defense. I just gave you guys the numbers. But if Wemby plays 25 to 28 minutes today, I just think that the Spurs defense will be able to put pressure on the Knicks. And it's not to say that the Knicks can't win the game. It's just, in my opinion, I think the total has gotten a little too out of hand if I'm expecting Wemby to play. So I'll wait for this total to go to go all the way up, and then I'll probably be looking towards the under. Maybe I see a 235 on Hard Rock, but maybe if the rest of the books catch up, I'll try to look for under in that regard. And then I do want to go just very, very quickly through a couple player props that I was looking at, and then I'll go through the comments and we'll get off of here. So transitioning over to Outlier, link is in the description if you guys are interested in checking it out. So first player I want to look at is Brunson, and Jackson kind of talked about it already, but yeah, I don't need Jackson analysis to let me know that I should be betting on Brunson today. So I just kind of feel like they don't have a guard that's going to be able to stay in front of Brunson. His usage is through the roof as well. When I was looking at this earlier this season, Jalen Brunson has a 30% usage rate this season. And if you're expecting them to, just to continue to have a 30% usage rate, he's been very, very good in those games. He's actually averaging right at 31 points per game. He's coming off the 40-point game against the Orlando Magic. He had 30 against Orlando early this season when he had a 30% usage rate, 31 and 33 against Orlando and Charlotte in the other 2 games. So he's played Orlando 3 times. 31 against the Bulls, 37 against the Miami Heat, and 36 against the Bucks. There's also this team's ability to be able to guard the pick and roll, which they're also bottom 5 in. So I do think that Jalen Brunson usage, it'll just be there. He's also shooting the ball really, really well. You can see 40% from the 3-point line in the last 5 games, 50% overall in the last 10 games. So I like to look for Brunson over his points prop today. I just think that he'll have the ball in his hand a ton. The other one that is, and I think the Wemby one makes a lot of sense too, but I didn't look into Wemby. The other one that makes a lot of sense in my opinion is Josh Hart. I actually like Josh Hart under on his points prop today. So let's see. Josh Hart listed at 13.5. You can see that he has been solid recently, over in 7 of his last 10 games, averaging 16 points. What jumped out to me when I was looking into this matchup is that can Josh Hart hit some threes? He absolutely can. He's actually been shooting a 3-point shot really, really well. But he didn't hit any against the Magic. He shot 0 for 4, and he went under in that game. And I think that's a big part of it for me. If Wemby is going to be on the floor for majority of the time, then I do think that some of these 3-point looks will be taken away from the New York Knicks. And Josh Hart's a guy that gets a ton of his points in transition. Actually, he gets a fourth of his points, 24% pretty much of his points come in transition. The Spurs are actually a top 3 defense in the NBA as far as giving up points in transition this season. And I think that's clearly it's a humongous way of how he gets his points. The number at 13.5 is something that he's only gone over in 11 of his 24 games as well. So it's a 55% hit rate to the under on Josh Hart under his rebound. So that's what I like as far as player prop goes. Now, if this isn't your first time watching the show, you know that I'm typically not on a lot of Spurs props, and it hasn't changed. I just look at this team. I look at the way that they scored the basketball in the last game, and it's like super difficult to try to figure out who's going to do what. Matter of fact, I got this pulled up. I'm gonna show you guys something real quick. This is how hard it is to find a player on the Spurs that's gonna score the basketball. So this is cleaning the glass, and there's a link in the description if you guys will check it out. You can go to the website. I don't get paid to promote them, but this is the last game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. You guys can see that right here, San Antonio OKC, 12-13 right behind my face. So this is the players' usage rate. You can see De'Aaron Fox had a 34% usage rate, Stephon Castle 64%, Devin Vassell 73%, Harrison Barnes 71%, Julian Champagnie just a 16%, which could go up in this game because of the three-point shots. But you can see the minutes, 37, 34, 32, 27, 27, 25, 24, 21 for Victor. So, there's a lot. And then Keldon Johnson as well at 14. But the usage in this is it's extremely volatile in my opinion. Here's the usage rate: 19%, 25%, 20%, 20%, 25%, 39%. You talk about a full team effort. I think that's what you saw here. Is just you just don't know who it's going to be. 22 points for De'Aaron Fox, 22 for Stephon Castle, 23 for Devin Vassell. Dylan Harper didn't play that well, but he could play more. He still played 25 minutes. He could, contribute more. Harrison Barnes could turn back the hand of time. It's difficult in my opinion, man. It's super difficult to figure out who's going to shoot the ball well. But I just wanted to show you guys that because that's what I was looking at when I was thinking about trying to figure out who was going to do what in this game. All right, let's go through the comments real quick and then we get out of here, man. Let's see. What are you guys talking about here? Jakarta says, does it feel like player props are easier to hit than team bets? Yeah, it does. And the problem is, I'm a lot more confident. So for people who are new to the channel, and most of you guys aren't, but I started player props. I started betting player props first before I started betting sides and totals. And I kind of shifted about 2.5 years ago. I shifted to spreads because NBA player props got volatile. But now I feel like there's tools that are out there that help you kind of navigate player props a little bit better. So I got to start playing the player props clearly. Looking at my tracking sheet, I've been doing better on player props than sides and totals as well. But I don't know. I feel more confident in the side though, because I know that thing has to happen. Player props don't always have to happen, but Brunson 30 plus for Taylor. Says Spurs ranked 28th in pull-up shot type. Brunson takes 46% of his shots via pull-up versus teams that are 22nd or worse. He's over 9 of his 10, averaging 33. Likes Bridges 15 points as well. The Spurs rank 23rd in spot-up defense. Bridges scores 40% of his points, 6.5 via the spot-up. With 30-plus minutes versus teams that are 18th or worse versus spot-up, he's over in 7 of his 9, averaging 17. Dom says he likes the under as well. Taylor says Vassell 3 threes, 4 threes. All right. Adam says he loves the looks. Raquel says, I think I'm a live bet the game and back the Spurs against the Wizards in a day or two. What up, PZ? Appreciate you for tapping in. Adam says, how about the Knicks first quarter money line? Because Wemby will not play the first quarter. I got this on the short list too. I forgot to talk about first quarter. I would be looking at Spurs early, right? Remember I said this against I think it might have been the Lakers in that cup game. I said I'd be looking at Spurs in that spot. And the way that these games have started, I know that the Spurs didn't start the game off well against OKC, but the Spurs are one of the top 5 best first quarter teams. The Knicks last couple first quarters have not been good. Remember, they were down to who did they just beat? They beat Orlando. They were down to Orlando at the end of the first quarter. Even if they weren't down, they didn't cover. Before that, they were in Toronto, didn't cover, gave up a ton of points in that spot. I think Spurs early makes a lot of sense in my opinion. Don's is really like Knicks team total under 118.5. I kind of agree. I think that they can score 119 points a lot with Wemby on the floor, and I think his minutes gonna be up. Let's see. Good morning, Real Talk. Mid-range says I took Mitchell Robinson first quarter rebounds over 1.5 is good money. It's up minus 110 on Hard Rock. I hate Hard Rock. Let's see. Devin Vassell over his rebounds and assists at 5.5. De'Aaron Fox for Parlay J. Just over his 1.5 steals and blocks. I could see this. CJ says, let's sell Howe in the San Antonio Spurs tonight. New York Knicks match up well against them. Knicks defensively match up well against everybody, but so does OKC. OKC is the best defense in the league, CJ. You got to take that into consideration too, man. Like, I understand what you're saying, but I'm thinking to myself, like, damn, like, bro, if you can knock off the Knicks, if you can knock off the Thunder, you can knock off anybody. Like, if you can knock off the Thunder, you can knock off anybody. And I don't know how much of a discount you're getting with the Spurs because they were getting 9.5 last game. They're getting 2.5 in this game. So, it's not much of a discount that you're getting. But like I said, I do think the Knicks are a better team. I feel a lot more confident betting San Antonio if I knew Wemby was going to be in, play a full allotment of minutes. I kind of want to, like I said, I'm going to have a popcorn ready. I don't really want to bet the side. I really, really don't. Our fan says, thanks, Chris. Smash the like button, y'all. Appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that for sure. All right, that's all the comments. Recap, San Antonio, first quarter for me if I'm betting it. I do think the first quarter goes over. This is the one other thing that I didn't talk about. I do think the first quarter goes over the 56.5. We've seen both teams kind of start well early. And if we think that Wemby's not, this is one that I would wait to see if, what Wemby's minutes will look like. But I think, if Wemby is going to play in the first quarter, if we get news about Wemby playing in the first quarter or not, if Wemby's not on the floor, I think that'll be a lot more points as well. Jalen Brunson makes a lot of sense in my opinion. And I like the Josh Hart look as well, under his 13.5 points, especially if I think Wemby's going to play a few more minutes. I just don't think that he'll be able to get out in transition and get a lot of points in transition. So I like the Josh Hart under look. And then the under 234.5, man. I don't know how contrarian it is, but that's the way I would look in this game as well. So tons of looks. Hopefully you guys find some ways to make some money. If I play anything, I will send it out to the members. But I'm gonna just kind of monitor it throughout the day, see if I can find a couple more articles to read, and probably have a play or two before the game starts, man. Resources all listed in the description if you guys are interested in checking them out. Jackson Out Loud, Moneyballer, Eyes Jam, and that'll be it. Only 2 weak games for tomorrow, if I'm being honest. 2 weak games for tomorrow. One I kind of like, one I absolutely hate, but we'll see if we can get to it tomorrow, man. Best of luck. Enjoy the Cup game tonight. Enjoy your Tuesday. Catch you guys in the next one. I'm out. Hit the like button on the way out. Appreciate y'all.